In the year 2020, I started a podcast about movies. Some episodes occasionally focused on other media as well. As I dealt with threatening interdimensional beings, I eventually met my other self from another universe where all the stuff I talked about got delayed. As it turns out, the stories as me and my guests described them were presented very differently in that other universe. So I continued podcasting these recaps, which apparently sound like improvised reviews, to entertain listeners of that other universe while they waited for the new release dates. Some episodes even focused on content of years past that did not come out in that other universe for whatever reason. The year is 2022. The podcast is now bi-weekly, unless stated otherwise. My name is Shinder, and you're listening to Delayed Replay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed or canceled in that other universe because they came out on time in our universe. I may have said that backwards, but anyway, I'm Steven Shinder, your host as usual, and this is kind of a different episode in that I kept going back and forth as to whether or not I actually wanted to do this one. So this is kind of last minute, and then I'm gonna have to get this edited really fast. But joining me for this episode, it is the me from that other aforementioned universe where things got delayed. And of course, we're talking about The Flash for reasons that he'll explain. Kind of a controversial choice, but yeah, I'll just let him talk right now, and then once we get into the actual recap, I'll change his voice so that the speed of his voice so that you can tell the difference between us. But yeah, why don't you take it away, Steven? Alright, thanks, Steven. So yeah, in my universe, the Flash movie has been delayed multiple times, and you know, you got it in July over in your universe of this year. But for us over here, it's gotten pushed back to summer of next year, I believe. There have been so many shakeups with Warner Brothers and DC because of a merger with Discovery and some other things. And of course, Ezra Miller got into some legal trouble and has been viewed as a dangerous person because of these incidents that have been reported on. And more recently, there's been the report that Ezra might be trying to get help. So it looks like they're still planning to release the Flash movie, which is a big controversial thing because due to the WB shakeup because of the merger and whatnot. Some stuff has been not very good with HBO Max. There was supposed to be a Batgirl movie released toward the end of this year in my universe. Of course, some things could be different for you, but over in my universe, the Batgirl movie got canceled because it was deemed not good enough for theaters, and I guess for not really into the HBO Max movies game thing and limiting the amount of movies they can release for budgetary reasons, I think. And they basically canceled Batgirl. Allegedly, test screenings got like the same score as Black Adam, but of course people have speculated that Black Adam has a bigger star, whereas Batgirl has lesser known stars, but it's still a very bad look because Batgirl still pretty diverse, and of course it's Batgirl, it's Barbara Gordon, and it's also supposed to have Michael Keaton. Yeah, they canceled it as a tax write-off, and it's really frustrating that they did that. More recently, they've said that the filmmakers who worked on it, who had also worked on the Ms. Marvel TV show, they said that they couldn't find the Batgirl footage on the server, like on the WB server. They don't have access to it anymore. HBO Max has also been removing some animation, like Infinity Train, which is an amazing show. I'm glad my brother recommended. I watched that a while back, But now it's like they took that off as well as a bunch of other things. They even canceled Scoob Holiday Haunt. So I was very much looking forward to that. And it's very frustrating. It's just, I could go on and, I don't have all the details. I don't know what's going on in their minds over my universe, but yeah, the controversy that, oh, they canceled Batgirl, but they're still releasing The Flash despite all the legal issues that Ezra Miller has been involved in, and really not a good role model, like just looking at what's happened, and it just feels imbalanced, It just, and of course, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has its own baggage, and people are up in arms about that. That one got delayed as well, but yeah, things are just looking not very good for WB and DC in general over here. Some CW shows also got canceled. Thankfully, it looks like Doom Patrol and Titans season 4 are still coming, but I think we already knew that, so I'm still kind of worried, like what's going to happen after those seasons, unless they're able to somehow wrap the shows up. And Young Justice, again, the animation angle, it feels like HBO Max, WB, Discovery, whatever, someone is not all that interested in animation from the looks of it. I mean, they even canceled the Batman Caped Crusaders TV show, and are like, I think it was still produced as being shopped around over here. But yeah, Young Justice, apparently there are no plans to move forward with a 5th season. So Greg Weisman is saying to buy the Young Justice Targets comic book to show support, and hashtag Save Earth 16. Definitely do that and show your support for Young Justice no matter what universe you're in, assuming that it's good in the universe. It's good in mine. Yeah, it's good in ours too. Oh, okay, right. Yeah, just a lot of head scratcher decisions. I mean, there's even a report that there'd been no discussions of having Shazam and Black Adam meet, and then apparently The Rock said that originally their origin was going to take place in the same movie, and he fought for their origins to be told separately. So I don't know if they'll meet anytime soon in my universe, but it seems like in your universe are building toward the two meeting. Yeah, it seems like it. But yeah, I could go on. It's just things with WB, Discovery, and DC seem not very good over here. But yeah, I really want to join you to talk about this Flash movie that came out in your universe. Yeah, exactly. And again, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to cover this one because I didn't want it to seem like this podcast is trying to feed into the trends, trying to get in on headlines and whatnot. It got to a point where I thought to myself, is there ever going to be a good time to recap / review The Flash? And the thing is that the Flash of this universe, the delayed replay universe, has a recast from the get-go. And, with superheroes, it's like we get so used to certain actors being attached to the roles, but the fact of the matter is superheroes in DC and in Marvel have had various depictions over the years across various media, even throughout just comics. There are different illustrators, different writers, and so we don't need to be tethered to just one act. If an actor does something awful, that shouldn't rob us of the character. The actor should face the consequences, and depending on the severity of what they've done, maybe the film should be canceled and reshot and recast and whatever. But yeah, so point is, it felt like this podcast should cover a version of the Flash movie because these characters are larger than life. Yeah, that's very well said. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and just go into recapping and reviewing this. Yeah, that was a long rant, I know. But yeah, it just felt like we had to address that and get that out of the way. Alright, so now in the edit, the Steven of that other universe will have his voice sped up so you can tell him apart from me to make it easier. And, it's this movie's about going fast, so it kind of makes sense if it's the theme. Yeah, for sure. Let's do this. I guess we should begin with what's your fandom with, well, I mean, we have similar histories, you and I. Like, we've each done like some of the same things, same podcasts. Even you, of course, don't have delayed replay, but yeah, what's your Flash fandom like, for lack of a better question, I guess?
Yeah, I feel like the Justice League cartoon from the early 2000s is when I first remembered being aware of the Flash. I didn't get into it at first, but really enjoyed it much later when it was on Netflix. But yeah, and obviously the Arrowverse, like I really got into the Flash TV show and its ending, of course. Although what's interesting is that in your universe, the Flash comes out before the final season of the TV show, but over here it comes out after the final season of the TV show. So I guess it's a different context within the film depending on which universe you're in.
Yeah, definitely. And they had the DCEU Flash and the Arrowverse Flash interact with each other in Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW version of that. So that was kind of a surprise, I guess.
Oh yeah, that one kind of got spoiled for me, but even so, it was kind of surprising, but it also felt awkward, just some of the dialogue and interactions in that. But it was, like, throughout that crossover, it was cool that they managed to bring in certain film versions, interacting with TV versions of the characters, even if some of the portrayals in there were lackluster. But anyway, and I enjoyed the Flashpoint Paradox animated film and the DCAU films, like, pretty much all the animated DC movies that feature the Flash. Like, they're often pretty good. But yeah, Flashpoint Paradox is definitely a staple, one of the A-plus ones. And of course, that and this film are based on the Flashpoint comics.
Yeah, so, and it's been kind of a meme that Flashpoint has been adapted over and over again, even in the CW TV show. Point is, it's been tapped to death to the point where it's kind of a meme that it's being done again in this film. But yeah, we'll go into the results and this film's take on it and how it stacks up.
Yeah, definitely. So it begins with Barry Allen waking up in his bed, and we don't see his face at first, but he like gets out and he goes to the bathroom to look in the mirror, get his day started and brush his teeth, and then he looks in the mirror, and it's who else but Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, the Maze Runner himself. So it's kind of fitting. And we're actually recording this on Dylan O'Brien's birthday. Again, we're trying to get this out like really fast and figured we'd try to record this at least after some more WB news came out in that other universe.
Yeah, for sure. So Dylan O'Brien looks in the mirror and says, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, and it's like the Justice League cartoon. I think it was in Justice League Unlimited, actually, where Lex Luthor switches minds with Wally West, because it's Wally West as the Flash in that cartoon, not Barry Allen. Whereas it's Barry Allen in some of the animated films, and in Young Justice we see Barry Allen, Wally West, Bart Allen.
We didn't see Bart Allen in Smallville. They didn't want to use Barry for some reason. There's this weird thing with DC where they didn't want to use Barry Allen because he died in the Crisis on Infinite Earths comics, which is weird because, like, it's in the comics. It's not like he died in these other media. Like, he could do whatever.
Yeah, that was weird. But it's also cool when we see Jay Garrick, the OG Flash in various things. Whether it be Young Justice or the CW stuff, and just how they've been able to bring back the same actor who played Barry Allen in the 1990 TV show.
Oh yeah, I saw that in on DC Universe when that app was supporting video content. That one season was pretty good, and it was really satisfying to see that Flash's arc conclude in Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was so hype.
Yeah, for sure. John Wesley Shipp is his name. Very great actor. Just, I love when DC gets these returning actors in different roles. He plays Barry Allen's father in the TV show, and then version of Jay Garrick, and of course reprises his role from the 1990 TV show. So yeah, very familiar with the Flashes, I guess you could say.
But yeah, Lex Luthor switches places with Wally West in Justice League Unlimited. Like, they get their minds switched, which is funny because Michael Rosenbaum voiced Wally West, and he has Lex Luthor in Smallville. But Yeah, there's that moment where Wally West looks in the mirror. Well, Lex Luthor looks in the mirror and is like, now I can figure out the identity of the Flash. He takes off the mask and he's like, I have no idea who this is. And it's just really hilarious. So to have this movie call back to that, it's just a really great throwback, even though it's a different Flash that they're doing it with.
Yeah, it was a nice Easter egg.
And another shocking moment is when, well, shocking for Barry, without being struck by lightning, is he goes downstairs and he sees Nora Allen, his mother, who got, like, in the original timeline of this DCEU, got killed in the past, and his father, Henry Allen, got framed for it. And of course, Nora Allen in this film is played by Maribel Verdú. Apparently she's been in a bunch of stuff. Pan's Labyrinth I recognize, but I didn't enjoy the first time I watched it, but maybe I need to give it a rewatch since people have been bugging me about it.
Oh yeah, I totally know what you mean. Yeah, like Barry just sits down and eats breakfast and he thinks to himself, something's not quite right here. Like he keeps going back and forth on what he remembers and what he doesn't remember.
So Barry asks his mom, wait, where's Dad? And he's like, is he in jail or something? You know, he's trying to play cool, but he's totally doing the annoying thing of being really obvious. But Nora just thinks he's kind of weird here.
Yeah, and then she's like, jail? You're silly. We're divorced, remember? We had a custody battle some years ago.
Yeah, that was really weird, like, just nonchalantly. Like, you would think it would be taken a bit more serious.
Yeah, but then Barry does take it seriously, because, he, over the course of the movie, like, he does remember, like, the whole thing of his dad being framed and him going to jail after his mom died, and so, he visits his dad, and they have a talk and whatever, and he tries to see if he remembers anything, and trying to be not too obvious about it, but it just seems pretty bad.
Yeah, it's handled really clunkily, honestly. But yeah, like there's this existential thing that Barry goes through where he's like, were my parents ever destined to be happy together? And like when my mom was dead, my dad still loved her with all his heart, and imagined that if she had kept on living, they would have still been together.
Yeah, I kind of don't know how to feel about this. It kind of feels messy, and it almost makes it feel like, oh, it's better if one spouse dies and they never get divorced than,
Yeah, it does. It's like, what's the message that's supposed to be taken from this? But anyway, I guess it's supposed to stir a bit of drama.
Yeah, and Barry is trying to remember, like, some other stuff about his previous life, and we get POV footage, so it's like we're looking through his eyes, and it's like he's meeting up with Batman in the Batcave, so we get a flashback of when he's talking to Ben Affleck's Batman, and they're talking about like the Legion of Doom, and Batman mentions that he's been having to deal with Deathstroke, so references to those little cliffhangers there's another word for that, but I'm just forgetting like what is.
Teases.
Oh yeah, teases, yeah.
Yeah, so, and again, we see the strong mentor-student relationship between Batman and Flash here. It's, honestly, it kind of feels like Iron Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man in a way, like more so than in previous stuff in either Justice League. And, as he's running around town, he realizes he doesn't have his speed powers anymore. He's like, what happened? But yeah, he realizes he needs to find Batman to help him figure out, like, what happened.
He goes to Wayne Manor, and he's, like, out of breath when he gets there.
Yeah, just back to his old Maze Runner roots, I guess.
Yeah, so he gets there, and he tries to break into the house, but then falls into a trap that, like, it's a booby trap that, like, ties up his ankles and hangs him upside down. And we see a Batman be like, who goes there? I don't know if I did the voice very well, but it's Negan.
Now, of course, it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne, because, of course, he played Bruce Wayne's dad in Batman vs. Superman.
Weird casting in that film, having Negan and Lauren Cohen, who played Maggie in The Walking Dead. And, like, if you've seen that show, you know why that casting is weird. But, like, Barry is like, where's Bruce? And Thomas Wayne is like, grabs him by the throat. Is like, how dare you say the name of my son? And Barry's like, your son? Wait, you're Thomas Wayne. And so Barry tries to like explain everything and how like he comes from a timeline where Bruce Wayne is Batman. Thomas Wayne is like, what are you, some sort of comedian?
Yeah, very cringeworthy Watchmen reference right there. But yeah, he tells a story of how in this timeline, um, it was Bruce Wayne as a kid who was shot down, and even though they don't show anything, like the emotion of it is very brutal. Like, you know, when Martha is holding her dead son in her arms, and then she starts laughing, and like she smears the blood over her mouth, and it's like, oh shoot, this is the origin of the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, for people like us who watched the Flashpoint Paradox, it wasn't really surprising, but there was an ominous gasp in the audience from people who hadn't seen, the normies.
Well, I guess we're kind of normies in relation to the people who actually read the Flashpoint comics.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so Barry is really shaken up by this story, and he talks about how he used to be the Flash and the conditions under which he got his powers, like all the superheroes that they worked with as the Justice League. And this Batman, who is very violent, like in his Batcave you see trophies, like he brags about how he has a Riddler trophy, and he looks at it as like, I use this to bash the Riddler to death. And he also has like the Penguin's umbrella as a trophy, and it's like, it's very macabre and really disturbing, but yeah, he scoffs at the idea of fighting alongside the likes of Aquaman and Wonder Woman, because in this timeline, those two are at war with each other. Like, we get glimpses of this conflict between the Atlanteans and the Amazon. And weirdly, in this timeline, those, like Wonder Woman and Aquaman and all of their forces and side characters from their movies are played by the actors' stunt doubles. It's just really weird. Although Chris Pine is still here as Steve Trevor, and it's really weird seeing him fight Wonder Woman in this version. It's also Chris Pine's birthday today, weirdly enough.
Oh yeah, nice tie-in there.
But yeah, Barry is like astonished to hear about all this, and not only that, but in this timeline we get an evil Superman. Like, we see a flashback of a younger version of him being trained by General Zod, who in this version is still alive, and he leads a Kryptonian invasion force against Earth, because apparently there were more survivors who, like his followers, made it off of Krypton, and the Amazonian Atlanteans try fighting them, but they're also fighting each other and normal humans. It's just not good vibes all around.
Yeah, so we get evil Superman, and we get a younger version of Superman. He's played by a different actor in the flashback, but we also get Henry Cavill. Like, thankfully they didn't use a stunt double like in Shazam and Peacemaker, but here he's sporting the mustache and facial hair and long hair that he arguably should have had in Justice League. I kind of wish that they'd used it in Justice League so that here they're not feeding into the villains wear facial hair stereotype type of thing.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. It feels very Master from Doctor Who, well, classic Doctor Who. But I thought he looked good. I wish they didn't CGI his face.
Yeah, that I'm thankful for, that they didn't CGI his face. But at the same time, you and I don't really like evil Superman that much. Injustice, the animated movie, was very meh, and proof that I'll probably never need to read or play any Injustice material. So, and of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League teased this possibility in one of the like alternate futures, with the evil Superman, but having evil Superman is just, I'm really tired of it. It's been done to death, and so to have that thrown into the mix here,
yeah, I'm with you. It's very boring and very like not Superman, but it does offer a nice opportunity for Supergirl to be the one like the Kryptonian fighting on behalf of the Earth.
Yeah, and in this movie, Supergirl is played by Sasha Kaya, and I'm really glad that they finally are touching upon this, because in Man of Steel there's that little Easter egg of, there's another pod or chamber or whatever on the ship, and it's supposed to be like, Supergirl also arrived on Earth. So it's great to finally have her here, and she's fighting alongside the good guys. But Barry really wants to get his powers back, and so he and Batman also recruit the help of Cyborg, who here is played by Ray Fisher, because in this delayed replay universe, the people behind the scenes got their act together. They did some cleanup with handling certain people and all the negotiations and making sure that Ray Fisher would be treated right. And so Yeah, seeing him back in this role, it's great seeing Cyborg here. And, he and Barry Allen are very buddy-buddy. Like, it seemed like they'd be in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's nice that they're really using that thread.
Yeah, and it's kind of confusing, like, which Justice League this is supposed to be a sequel to. There's, like, a throwaway line that seems to hint that Crisis on Infinite Earths might explain the differences, but I don't really know which universe overwrote the other, but it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're trying to do Schrodinger's cat situation in terms of the explanation.
But yeah, Barry does have flashbacks to that crossover in Crisis on Infinite Earths when he met the other Barry played by Grant Gustin. And so he knows the multiverse is a thing, and he, Cyborg, and this Batman are like, through a montage they study and do sciencey stuff, and of course eventually they recreate the event where Barry receives his Flash powers and gets electrocuted, and it's very painful looking, but they help him and he becomes the Flash again, and so he's like, okay, I need some more help, I need to reach out into the multiverse, and it's this really weird thing where the bolt of lightning was so powerful that he went almost out of control, like pretty much wrecking the Batcave, and so he had to like stabilize himself. Cyborg helped him with that. Cyborg coming in clutch, really keeping Barry in check. And so Barry's like, okay, I can do this. I can reach into the multiverse and get some help.
And so he wants to reach out to that other Flash again, but then Thomas Wayne like points a gun to his head basically, and it's like, look, I need to see my boy. Show me my boy. And it's like, I get that Thomas Wayne is very desperate to see his son, but it just feels very cringe how he's forcing him to like get Bruce back somehow. He's like, okay, I'll find him. And so he tries reaching out. It's like, show me Bruce Wayne. And the first person he sees.
Well, first he sees like, and this was like a really funny cameo. He sees Christian Bale sitting at a cafe in Venice or Florence or wherever it was, and he's like, oh, that's not Bruce Wayne, that's just some normal guy. And so he like tries reaching further and then pulls out none other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin John Blake from the Dark Knight trilogy, and wearing the Batsuit, which he never got to do in the Dark Knight Rises, so this is really cool for him. And he's like really confused about what's going on, but when they ask him like about his origin, he's like, oh, Bruce Wayne is gone, I've taken his mantle now. And Thomas Wayne is upset because he thinks that Bruce Wayne is dead in multiple universes, but Barry continues reaching out, and he finds Michael Keaton and pulls him in, and like, are you Bruce Wayne? Are you Batman? And Michael Keaton's like, no, actually, I'm the, and he gets cut off and thrown back to his world, and it's almost felt like that was supposed to be the Vulture, and it's like, oh, are DC and Warner Brothers allowed to, like, even hint at this? It just felt like a really funny cameo.
But yeah, then he reaches and gets Michael Keaton again, but this time he's like wearing the classic Batman 1989 cowl and whatnot, and his Batmobile comes through somehow. It's like a very nostalgia moment, complete with the Danny Elfman music, and he's like, whoa, I was just putting on this suit to take a trip down memory lane, but I didn't mean to end up somewhere else completely.
He looks around at the Batcave and is like really confused, and he sees Thomas Wayne, and Barry basically has to explain who they are to each other, and he's like very confused because like they don't look like each other's father or son, but yeah, so they decide to like team up, and because Michael Keaton's Batman gets filled in on like what's going on, and he tells like, he sort of recaps his story, the two Tim Burton Batman movies, and they even include a flashback to like the Batman 89 comics. They have a de-aged Marlon Wayans as Winston Drake, Robin, and a de-aged Billy D. Williams with half his face looking like Two-Face, and it looked really good. And that flashback with Two-Face felt very reminiscent of that weird flicker of Two-Face in the Dark Knight.
Yeah, it totally felt like that, and it was off-putting in the Dark Knight Rises, but it somehow worked here, as brief as it was.
Yeah, although it does feel a bit like nostalgia bait.
Yeah, definitely. But they keep reaching out into the multiverse, and they see Robert Pattinson's. He's kind of confused as like, I don't want to take any part of this, and just walks away. And this movie also teases that the weird stuff in Tenet might have happened as a result of this, where Robert Pattinson's Batman appeared in there. But yeah, it's like a very quick hand-wavy explanation when they do cover that. But anyway, Barry's like, look, I need to focus on finding my other self so I can figure out like what all this is about.
And so he reaches out and he finally finds Grant Gustin's Flash again. And he basically explains his dilemma and how like the timeline's different, and Grant Gustin's Flash is like, well, you messed with the timeline probably. Like this happened with me, I saved my mom and then it made some changes. Like you gotta go back and make sure that, stop her from being saved. And this makes the DCEU Barry Allen, Dylan O'Brien Barry Allen very upset because he's like, I don't want to let my mom die. And, he and Thomas Wayne have like a heart-to-heart about family, and it's very heartwarming. And he talks to him about like the almost father-son dynamic that he has with the Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne. And, Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne alludes to the Robin, how like he felt like he failed as a father figure. And Thomas Wayne is sort of trying hard not to cry, but he's in tears because like he misses his son,
Yeah, it's very understandable. And of course, like they all have to team up with Supergirl, fighting the Atlanteans, Amazonians, and Kryptonians who are evil in this timeline.
And also in this timeline, Black Adam got the power of Shazam, and Billy Batson is implied to be out of the picture, I guess. I guess they didn't want to get too dark and specific, but yeah, Black Adam has his own army as well. And we actually get The Rock's Black Adam fighting Henry Cavill's Superman and Sasha Kaya's Supergirl. It's like a 3-person fight, each fighting each other, and it's like so destructive and lots of buildings like getting destroyed. And, not a good time for people who disliked Man of Steel for those reasons, obviously.
Yeah, this sequence went on for too long and was really tiresome, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know, I kind of feel like, I know the DCEU was already kind of rushed, but then Zack Snyder's Justice League was surprisingly good. But it feels like they went too big, like even now, like going with this Flashpoint event already, like just, well, I mean, maybe it'd be different if Zack Snyder's Justice League had been released in 2017, but yeah, just having all this go big and Superman going bad like right away, it just feels, it still has that very rushed aftertaste that's sort of cursed the DCEU.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. But there is like this epic battle, and it does feel very much like what I imagine Game of Thrones is like. I only watched the first season and I've forgotten much of it. Don't intend on continuing it because I was pretty bored by it. But yeah, this battle goes on for a long while.
And then Barry Allen is finally confronted by Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, played here by Luke Brandon Field. And he has no idea who Reverse Flash is because from Reverse Flash's point of view, he's had many battles with the Flash, but the Flash has yet to meet Eobard for the first time and start that rivalry on his end.
Yeah, and Eobard is like, well, it's the guy who the timeline.
Yeah, they really had to throw that in there, really feed into the meme.
Thankfully, Grant Gustin is able to like team up with Dylan O'Brien, and they try fighting this Reverse Flash, and Grant Gustin has to give Dylan O'Brien's Flash the pep talk that he's like, you gotta go back in time and stop your mom from being saved. I know it hurts, but trust me, everything will be better for this. And Dylan O'Brien's just like, I just don't understand how my mom being alive causes all of these terrible things to happen. What the hell kind of cause and effect is that? That's so cruel and unfair. And Grant Gustin is like at a loss for words, and it's like, yeah, this is really unfair that Nora's existence somehow has this butterfly effect that makes things worse, and it's like really heartbreaking that this is the lesson that he goes away with. But yeah, Barry has a heart-to-heart with his mother as well, and even sees his father die in this invasion, getting killed by Zod himself, played once again by Michael Shannon, and his henchman is back as well. But yeah, Nora is like, you gotta go back. Like, she's been briefed, like brought up to speed, on like the timeline being different after like Barry demonstrates his powers and Batman and Cyborg vouch for him and whatnot. And she's like, Barry, it's okay. You can do this. And, Barry wells up and gives her a last hug before he has to go back and change things.
Eventually he's like, all right, it's time to the timeline. But before he does that, Thomas Wayne goes up to him and he's like, I want you to give this to my son. He gives Barry an awkward hug, which we learn is actually just him planting this disc on him, like in his suit, like in his pocket that he apparently has. And I guess it's like a really sturdy disc because it never gets broken, really.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
But yeah, he runs away from this really bad present timeline. There's like world pollution everywhere and just all around bad. Everyone's dying. And he goes back in time, and Eobard tries to stop him, and so they're like trying to stop each other. But it's like speedsters against speedster, and eventually Dylan O'Brien's Flash gets the upper hand and pretty much fixes everything. And along the way, there are the glowing red eyes, which are supposed to be like the anti-monitor. And I don't know if there's like a little storm like during these chase sequences, which I guess is the anti-monitor trying to interfere. And I don't know if this movie is trying to tease something bigger happening with the anti-monitor later, or if it's supposed to be like this is the thing he's trying to manipulate reality, throw things off course. But Dylan O'Brien's Flash manages to make things right. And when he returns, he sees all the familiar Justice League heroes, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, and Supergirl is there as well still, Sasha Kaya, and Ray Fisher's Cyborg is there, and Ben Affleck's Batman is there, of course, and Henry Cavill's Superman is there and good once again, but of course, we know there's still a possibility he could be bad again in the future.
Yeah, that would be really annoying if that does end up happening. He tells Batman about what happened, and there are like these little references to certain revisions in the timeline. There's like a throwaway line about how because of the change in the timeline, certain faces might have delayed changes. Faces might change every now and then, maybe more than once, as a result of like the effects of this, which I guess DC and WB could use to their advantage in case any other problematic stuff happens with any of other actors. So they're kind of covering their butts there.
Yeah, as flimsy as an explanation is, I guess they have that tucked into their back pocket.
Yeah, but Barry, Dylan O'Brien, Barry Allen, gives the disc to Ben Affleck, Bruce Wayne. It turns out to be a video recording of a message from Thomas Wayne. In Flashpoint Paradox, it was a letter, but here it's a video recording. It's, Thomas Wayne without the cowl, talking heart to heart with Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne and doing like a really heartwarming father scene. But I feel like this wasn't as impactful because we already saw something like this with Cyborg and his father in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it felt like a retread, and like it had some similar sounding sentiments. The music felt like it was trying to emulate a similar vibe, and just, I don't know, it didn't hit me as much.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was pretty effective for me. I still thought it was heartwarming. Like, I almost teared up, though I didn't really tear up.
I guess that's something we kind of disagree with on slightly. That sentence could have been structured better, but,
Yeah, and then we get the Flash sort of running around and, doing a victorious run, and it's set to the track at the speed of force from Zack Snyder's Justice League, which, is a really amazing track. And, like, what a way to end it before the credits.
Yeah, definitely. But then we get the credit scene, or post-credit scene, where we see Michael Keaton's Batman, and it's kind of confusing. It's unclear whether this is still that separate universe or whether they're suggesting that the universes have been merged together, and now Michael Keaton is like Ben Affleck's Batman, but 20 years into the future or something. So potentially past the dark side stuff if they do go that direction that Zack Snyder was planning, but I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, he's like talking to an older Marlon Wayans, like, they're not in their suits, they're just in their normal clothes, and they're just having a nice little chat. And he's like, yeah, Batgirl is ready. And then we see Leslie Grace walk in wearing the suit, and she's like, ready for my first mission. And it cuts to black. It's just so hype.
Yeah, I hope the Batgirl movie is pretty good in your universe. Like, in my universe, I would want to watch it no matter what. Like, even if it's subpar, like, I just want to see it. And so I'd know for sure whether I would consider it a good or bad movie. Of course, in your universe, it's probably not going to be exactly the same as how it would have been over here.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. So yeah, overall, what did you think of The Flash, the movie, and what would your overall score and unit of measurement be?
Well, the cameos were pretty good, but we've had a bunch of things with cameos that they've kind of lost their novelty for me and are almost, like, always expected. There were times when I felt like there was maybe too much Batman in this. Like, it's that Spider-Man Homecoming problem, right? Where it feels kind of like an Iron Man movie, and I honestly got those vibes here. And so like there was less of a balance than there was in Flashpoint Paradox, and it kind of sucks out, quote unquote sucks that the Flashpoint Paradox was already excellent to begin with. That it's hard for this to stack up against it. Like it was hard for No Way Home to stack up against Into the Spider-Verse, you know. So this was never going to be on the same level. But like for some people, they'll enjoy the novelty of seeing the actual live-action actors who play other versions of characters being back in this. I do like that they didn't lean as heavily in the multiverse angle, like with like a billion cameos, although, I don't know, maybe sometime down the line they'll have something bigger for that, like an actual Crisis for all we know, that could do more stuff like that. Oh yeah, there's even that moment where the Flash tries reaching out to find an actual Superman, and he sees Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, and he's like, why does he look so familiar? And it's like a little Teen Wolf reference, because those two actors, Dylan O'Brien and Tyler Hoechlin, worked on Teen Wolf.
Oh yeah, I got a good laugh out of that. It was cool seeing him and this Supergirl fight side by side.
So I guess he goes back to his own Earth. It's not clear whether he's from the Arrowverse or whether he's from the Earth that Superman and Lois takes place on. But yeah, seeing Tyler Hoechlin is pretty cool. But yeah, like some of the rules of like the different universes and timelines are kind of messy here. Like they don't really explain it too much, and some of it is nostalgia bait, so it's hard to take as seriously. But I'm glad that they, you know, the stuff in the movie isn't as problematic as it could have been in your universe anyway. But overall, it was somewhat entertaining, but maybe not super high up there because of how disjointed it felt at times and how it felt like it went too big too fast because, you know, doing Flashpoint this soon after some of the other stuff we've gotten that felt like it was barely scratching the surface. So I think I would give The Flash 7.5 out of 10 lightning bolts.
All right, yeah, I'm actually in agreement with you there. Surprise, surprise. For me, it's also a 7.5 out of 10, but my unit of measurement is Batmobiles, because it was really cool seeing Thomas Wayne and Michael Keaton's Batmobiles and Joseph Gordon-Levitt using the Tumblr, and they kind of make fun of that name. They're like, wait, you mean like the social media site? But yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt getting his due was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like it could have been worse, but we've definitely seen better, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
There's also a post-credit scene where Eobard Thawne is somewhere, and I don't know when this is supposed to take place, but he's like, we'll meet again, Flash. And, you know, I don't know if that's supposed to be like in the next movie or if it's just an inevitable thing in the Flash mythology, because they're always destined to meet each other, so who knows, but we'll see. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Steven. I guess it would be redundant for you to list off
any plugs. Yeah, so go ahead and list off your plugs then.
Alright, so people can follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook. Go to stevenshinder.com for info on my novel, Lemons Like Rain. The next book, Trespassing Through Your Visages, so close to coming out, possibly October, if there are logistical things, and might be November, but it's really close. You can also follow me on Goodreads, I guess, if you want to see my ratings and reviews for comics and novels and audios even. You can also find me on Yesshift, a podcast/vlog that I do with my dad. We talk about Yes members and past and present. I have even interviewed a few of them and some people who've worked with them. And we also talk about Yes members' own albums and some news related to the members. And you know, find us on anchor.fm/Yesshift for the audio. Facebook.com/Yesshift is where we go live, and then we post on YouTube as well. I recently guested on Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast, to talk about an episode of UFO titled Time Lash. So talking about that with Dylan and Keon, it was lots of fun. And also recently appeared on the Intergalactic Peace Coalition to do a wrap-up roundtable discussion of Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, talking about how satisfying the show was overall, and yeah, it was a really fun discussion. And yeah, I think that's everything. So yeah, thanks for joining me, Stephen.
Oh, this was a pleasure, and yeah, it made a lot of sense for both of us to be on this kind of a touchy subject, but I think we handled it pretty well, hopefully, and we were able to have some fun with the recap and review, and really hash out how we feel about your universe's version of the movie. And yeah, we'll see how things develop with WB and DC and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. And people can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on time travel, I guess. I'll go ahead and get this edited quickly so to get it out Saturday. And next episode will be on Mission Impossible 8. So yeah, that'll be really huge. But without further delay, have a good day.